So good morning, everyone. Here we are in Bilbao in the GPP with Nobel Prize Professor Merton. It's such a pleasure to have you here. So first, brief question: how has it been? The city, the event. How has it been?
Oh, it's been a great event. The topic is so important, not just here in Spain, but also, or Basque Country, but also everywhere in the world. We have a world pension crisis, but it's a crisis in part, a good part, because of a good thing. We're all living longer, and we didn't plan on it. And so we need the extra resources and to use ingenuity to be able to adjust to the demographic changes. There also been a reduction in birth rates in many countries, so that the support basis for workers to pay for the next generation's retirees is a challenge. But we face challenges in the world all the time.
Absolutely.
And that's why we have to address them. So it's important.
True. So basically, I'm just going to ask you two brief and quick questions. So first one, Professor Merton, considering the current global economic uncertainties, what role can finance and innovation play in mitigating the key risk facing global pension systems today, this global crisis that you were talking about?
Well, when you analyze it, we have several elements that we need. We have to address the changing conditions, demographics, saving patterns, and so forth. But we have solutions that we can do, including we need to have a not single system of just Social Security or national pension, Pillar 1 as it's often called.
Yeah.
We can't rely on just one vehicle. To make it sustainable and able to adjust to all the different things that we can't predict will happen, we need multiple institutions combined together into what we would call the retirement system. So we need, in addition to Social Security, which is absolutely essential, and we have to make sure that everyone who's in the country trusts that not only will they get paid now and they're retirees, but the generation now who's working, who's now paying for the people who are retired, can have the trust that when they retire, the next generation will do for them. So we have to show them that that Pillar 1 system is truly sustainable. And that's my number one focus is on that part of the retirement system. We've seen throughout the world, both in the United States, China recently, but all over the world, that they move to what we call Pillar 2, in which you have employer plans, particularly, in which people, money is deposited for them, the contributions, but then they're invested in various instruments, and depending how those investments do, that's what people get. Which means that, unlike Pillar 1, in Pillar 2, the individuals are taking some of the risk. They get to make some of the decisions as well. We know how to do that right. With all respect, it's better now than it was 10 years ago. It's getting better, but it needs a lot more improvement. But we know how to do that. So it's a problem that needs to be addressed. I'm not saying everything is fine, but we know how to solve it. It's not like, what do? We don't know what to do. So when you know how to solve a problem, that's the big part. Then you, of course, have to work through the actual execution. So that's in Pillar 2. Now, there's a third pillar, Pillar 3, which is, has been of great importance to me, depending on the country, of course. But many countries, including my own even to some degree, many countries have an informal sector where the people working there or working in the informal sector have no connection to any pension system. They're not even Social Security. Mm-hmm. But they still need to retire.
Sure.
So those people will have to prepare retirement solely on their own savings. And so I've designed first in theory with a co-author from MIT PhD, designed a bond, very specialized bond, which we call a retirement security bond, RSB, which is designed for people who need to save for their own retirement, who don't have an advisor, who have a very modest formal education, but they're adults who know how to look after themselves. So they don't have much formal education. And the idea of this bond is to make it so that it can be easy, low cost, and most important, they completely understand what they need to do so that they can efficiently and effectively save for their retirement. And we put a lot of design into this, and the key design element is make the design so everything they need to know to use it, they already know. Because if you make it that way, they don't have to learn anything, they don't have to know any finance.
It's easier for everyone, basically.
Yes, and we designed this in theory over a number of years, and it was actually adopted in simplified form, but at first, we might call it version 1.0, in Brazil a year and 9 months ago. We'll see how it's going, but it seems to have good reception. But it can be used in any country that has a bond market. And so we're hopeful that this instrument, which is not a replacement for Pillar 1 or for Pillar 2 or taking risks, so it's not taking away anything or a substitute, it's an addition. So I'm very enthusiastic about it because this will make it possible for people to save in small units. I think in Brazil, their smallest unit is 30 real, which is $6. So you can buy very small units, and that's way we'll get people to save who need to. But it's not just for them. It's also for people who are in the Social Security system, but when they look at what their benefit will be, they say, well, you know, I really need more than that to live the way I'd like to live in my retirement. So in addition to my Social Security or Pillar 1, even in addition to my Pillar 2, but certainly my Pillar 1, I need to save more so I can get to where I want to be. And this bond will work very well for them. And in addition, these bonds will work very well for advisors to very wealthy people for different purposes. It allows them to structure a part of their complex wealth management to very well fit needs they often had, for example, to provide some kind of a permanent income for various family members, etc. And finally, institutions, pension funds, who are part of the Pillar 1 system, they make promises of paying it. That's a liability. They could buy these bonds to hedge or protect them so that they can deliver. So pension funds and insurance companies that write annuities are both going to find if this bond would be very attractive. So that's another step we're taking. We have several. In fact, I have 6 different pieces that I think should be brought together as an integrated solution, but doesn't have to be done all at the same time. You can do different pieces, but you should, like any overall plan, have the whole plan in mind, even if you implement the pieces at different times.
It's such a good luck for us having you here, because hearing such an optimistic speech, it's just amazing, because normally, and this is the second question, often people on media communicate that pensions are not going to be a thing for my generation, for example. That is not going to happen. And having the ability to say, okay, there's a solution, it's really good. It makes us feel safer for the
Well,
listeners.
I think, and I was looking at you when I said in the early part of the interview that I think it's incredibly important to get the people who are now contributing to take care of the people who are retiring to have faith and trust that they will have that. And I figure that is the most important thing to be done for Pillar 1. I think the way to do that is none of this is easy. When I said it's doable doesn't mean easy.
Sure.
But if we all do hard things. we all take on challenges that are important, and this is very important to the financial stability of the country, to cohesiveness, so many things beyond just the financials. But retirement is just such an important part. It's always been a part of the life cycle. It always will be. So, I am optimistic because I can see we can do a solution, but it will take a lot of effort and a lot of support, not just from retirees, but from your generation to say, we want this, to know it can be done. And if you know it can be done, then I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you should say, look, it can be done. Let's get it done.
Sure.
And if you bring that to bear on the decision makers, I think that they will respond because there is a way to fix it.
Absolutely, it will happen. Thanks again for coming. It has been such a big pleasure, and I hope you keep with us and we keep in touch for next year.
Yes.
That will happen. Thank you so much.
Well, I look for it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Professor.